다음은 오픈 연구 데이터를 위한 국제적 도전, 출판, 보존, 인용, 재사용이다 라는 주제로 일본 정보통신연구기구 야스히로무라야마 통합 데이터 시스템 연구개발 실장님의 발표가 있겠습니다. 따뜻한 박수로 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Thank you very much. Okay. So my name is Ya스히로무라야마 from Japan. So you find that a Japanese person to give an English talk, you may assume that a poor English talk. In my personal feeling, the Japanese people have worse in English skills than the Korean people. And how about my English talk? That in this case, it's true. I don't expect so good talk like Dr. Shida just now. And so please accept my apology if I am at a loss for the words in the middle of my talk. Anyway, so I'd like to talk about the international challenges, some activities for open research data. And I think I am only one probably today outside the library and community. My approach is from the scientific research data side. And this is so when you see my affiliation, number of affiliations, because I have many standpoints, in the last line, it is my main affiliation, the National Institute of Information and Communication Technology. Oh, really, it's information science. But you can see the third from the bottom is the Japan Geoscience Union. It is my professional society I'm belonging to. Why geoscience? Yeah, my background is geoscience, earth science, and space physics. I'm a member of the board of directors of the union. And however, I'm working in an international business, the ICSU World Data System Scientific Committee. ICSU is the International Council for Science. This is driven by the international academies, scientific community. And finally, in that context, I am now partly working with the Science Council of Japan. So the very much complex situation now. And from the other earth scientists and also other international work staff, I would like to give some current situation of what's the open research data and what can be observed from my perspective. Today's talk, actually, I would like to show some brief explanation, give a brief explanation about G8 meeting and open data, and that background behind the G8. And the international activities, situation in Japan, and some practices about data citation. And background, science and data sharing. And the starting point of my big work in the data field was the G8 meeting in 2013. There was a G8 summit in UK, and there was an agreement about the open data charter. It is very much general data discussion. And in parallel, there was another meeting, G8 Science Ministers Statement, G8 Science Ministers meeting in UK too, in the same month, July 2013. And from Japan, Professor Harayama, she is executive member in National Council for Science and Technology Innovation. Participated in the GH Science Ministers meeting. And as a result, the science ministers and the executives, national executives of the G8 countries agreed with this statement that include G8 countries agree with open scientific research data. Some people may think this is a scientist's work or academic things. However, in this event, scientific research data discussion was on the table of the political discussion. Because there's so much importance on today's world, today's politics, about science. When I say science, don't think about just physics or chemistry. It should be very much broad sense. And of course, health science, biology, or biodiversity, disaster, or even economy, political science, anything, humanity, social science, everything. And in a sense, it is my personal view, we should think about the very wide range of the logical thinking based on the evidence, that is data. So this kind of the international discussion is in aspect of science based on the method of modern science. When we say modern science, so it's a flavor of something like a science by Newton or Ampere, Poincaré, or anything, anybody that. Yeah, the international community, they are thinking about what's the principle of science, what's the principle of the logical thinking based on the evidence. So it's not really just like our internet technology, not just like our biotechnology today. And in this discussion, the science has a broader meaning, and in my opinion, it is a social system today. So science is not belonging to just scientists. Science is society's asset, society's strong tool to foresee our human beings' future. So that is the reason why the politicians discuss the science, scientific data. Let me skip to the next slide. And this is my original diagram. The left-hand side, this is a traditional scientific method. Yeah, you can find a similar story in textbooks for the young student. You ask a question and construct a hypothesis and test with experiment or observation and draw the results, conclusion. And if we get the conclusion, we write it in a research paper to be published. And then, otherwise we present it in some conferences in front of the many participants. Then we can do the free discussion or open criticism with each other. And even re-examining the research conclusion by third party, other people. This is related to the research integrity, validation of the research results. However, today, some people may notice that scientific research or professional surveys are based on the huge size of data, or a certain kind of data, at least. But still, journal papers are just sentences and a couple of diagrams. So, in an exactly speaking sense, the open criticism, re-examination, must be done with the journal articles, with the data behind the paper. And in the international community and even in the G8 meeting, this issue was discussed. Some biological or life science papers, cancer research paper cannot be re-examined with the results written in the paper. Nobody can follow that experiment only with the sentences written in the paper. And some people report the number of that kind of the insufficient paper, they are increasing. Of course, in the professional community, scientist community, people share the basic knowledge, and the people can agree what's the reality, what's the true research conclusion. But once the paper is released, published, then outside the community, nobody can follow the discussion. So more complete science, for more complete science or healthy science, the paper should go with the data. And in that situation, the scientists or experts can form the consensus about the scientific knowledge, research results. That kind of community consensus is a confirmed, reliable, more reliable knowledge which can be given to the general society or other communities. For instance, for global climate change issue, many national governments and industries have changed the policies of the CO2 reduction. They are working to be the less and less CO2 emission for the climate change. The basis of their action is on, for instance, IPCC's report. IPCC is an intergovernmental panel on climate change. IPCC issued their report with the tens of scientists, authors, and the thousands of reviewers, I think. That kind of mass of scientists makes a consensus about the global change and climate change. Then that climate change knowledge is a reliable perspective for our planet, Earth future. Then many nations, many industries change their policies. And without that, science is just a hobby of scientists. That nobody really wants to do that, especially today, and in an economically severe situation. But the science is so valuable. That is the only way, only the method human beings have to foresee the future of ourselves. And but that kind of the strategy can only stand on this kind of mutual understanding, mutual trust, by opening the information, discussing openly. Sorry, this take a look. I took a long time. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the media. So now the print and electronic. print media is a conventional way to exchange the information. So we print my manuscript on a journal published in the market. And in the same way, the oral poster presentations, it is not really print, but the common features are, they are based on the sentences with the help of the couple of the diagrams. And electronic media enables newer features, you know. In today's presentations, you can see that so movies on the PowerPoint files, sound, and more generally, we can exchange the numerical files, images, etc., and even for interactive interfaces on the World Wide Web. And on those media, so far we have been publishing literature, articles, papers, and in this process, the manuscript has to be fixed and reviewed, peer-reviewed, and published, preserved, cited, and so on. And citation is important to evaluate what the research achievement is valuable or not. What about the data? To take the data as a similar intellectual asset, as a research paper, scientific original paper, it should be also fixed, reviewed, published, preserved, cited, and so on. However, growing data is difficult to be fixed. What about the global change data? Review. What is a review of the data? And publish is also has many issues. And the preservation and technical and legal issues, etc. And the data citation, how to do the data citation. Many things are unresolved. And so some people ask a question, will the data publication concept be really established in future? It is ongoing effort internationally. Actually, I'm thinking it is a kind of a social experiment. And in reality, big, major scientific publishers have started this effort, like Elsevier, Wiley, Springer. So big wheel has started to rotate gradually. I'd like to show a brief history about this kind of scientific record and communications. Left-hand side is the print culture. Right-hand side is the electronic, digital technology. Right-hand side, you can see, so print press, since the print press invention by Gutenberg, the first scientific journal, successful journal, was published in 1665. Since then, we have a 350 years history about print culture. And during this period, human beings has developed a very excellent and sophisticated system of the communicating the scientific information or any literature information. If the one student wants to see the Einstein's paper 40 years ago, published 40 years ago, and if his university library has not that journal, then he can ask to the university librarian. Then a librarian can get a copy through the librarian network. This is the library's very much sophisticated social system. And not only for library, the review process, publishing, editorial work, and many things have been developed to establish today's science technology world. And the right-hand side, so electronic media, digital technology, ENIAC has invented 1946, and the hard disk drive, TCP/IP, and the World Wide Web has been getting popular. Those are all in just 70 years ago. I was born in 1964. Digital technology, just like my elder brother. This is shorter history than one person's life length. So nobody knows if in digital technology we can develop that similar sophisticated, complete information exchange, information preservation system in a digital technology. This is our human being's current effort, ongoing. Oh, it's 20 minutes. In that perspective, so I call it science as a social system. And in this landscape, we can see the research performing body. This is researchers, scientists working hard. And also in the middle, publishers, librarians, repositories, and abstracting many efforts have been done. And today, the importance are increasingly stressed about the scientific data management, coordination, international coordination. And when we say science activity, people tend to imagine the research institutes, universities. However, that's not true, in my opinion. Science is a system built on the multiple stakeholders. Those can only enable the mutual trust between science and society. Those are only the way for the scientists to provide a reliable knowledge to the society. Then some university professors may behave like our publishers and librarians are just assistants of the research. I don't think so. We are colleagues. We go together with each other to build up the science as a social system. I would like to address about the international activity. And now I am working for this World Data System business. This is kind of the international committee in International Council for Science. International Council for Science, ICSU, has a very long history, and it is a kind of representative in the international world of the science and technology. And since 1950s, 57, 58, the World Data Center or Federation of Astronomical Geophysical Data Analysis Service, those are the scientific data preservation and exchange system. System is a social system. That is so committees and panels. And but in 1950s, you can imagine that what is the data? Data was on a data book and microfilms. And what's the data preservation from all over the world? The people mail the data book, mail the microfilm to a certain research institute, which was defined as a World Data Center. And then center people store the data book on the bookshelves. That was the data in that era. But rapidly, world has been changing. The internet technology was invented, and through the TCP/IP, data can be digital data uploaded to the World Wide Web server. Everybody can access from your home personal computer through the fiber optics to the home. And then the international academic people think that, so the committee and the systems panels are not very much suitable for today's technology and today's data handling system. So they have decided to change the committee, and in 2008, the two bodies, WDC and FAGS, was abandoned and reformed into the World Data System. Now, World Data System has 82 members, including most of NASA data archive centers, Chinese academies, institutes, of course, from EU and UK areas, a number of the research institutes joined. As associate members, Wiley and Elsevier has joined. WDS objectives include, so to enable universal and equitable access to quality assured scientific data, and which should be multidisciplinary. When we started this business 60 years ago, it was more earth science, because when we have the earthquake data, when we have the geomagnetic data, geomagnetic is a terrestrial magnetic field, it is meaningless if it is very much part of the land. We need a whole Earth magnetic field to foresee, for instance, the magnetic axis of the Earth changes, etc. Geodesies also, or ocean science also, they must be global. But today, the general society expects more about the science. When we think about the great earthquake, what a disaster, the disaster loss, what is lost in a disaster, it is social science. How many houses, how many lives are lost in the disaster, and what the health situation, the pandemic event, and also meteorology, atmospheric science, etc., political situation too. So it must be multidisciplinary. And now health science people joined the WDS. And of course, we need long-term data preservation with more interoperability between the disciplines, between the countries, between the bodies, with the data standards and the convention. And of course, this is a very much ideal objective, which is for very much long future. But this is academic thought, so it is very much ideal. And the practical things are shown in below. Just briefly speaking, that the, for instance, data publication working group, that data publication should be done through the trusted digital services, trusted digital repository, and who certifies that trusted repository, and what's the metadata catalog for the global registry, and so on. And this is the example of the data publishing working group. And just, I would like to just show you the stakeholders. You can see the, for instance, the STM in that upper part, and Elsevier, this is publishers. And below there you see the DNA Digest, SDSC is the more lower part, IQSS, the research institute, research bodies, societies, and the computer technology is also, and Wiley Blackwell and Springer as the publishers. So this is a very much multi-sector stakeholders. Also, Research Data Alliance. This is another international initiative which started in 2013. Oh, it's end of it was kicked by the G8 meeting, and so far financially supported by USA, EU, and Australia. And their target is to form community consensus. And it's really spreading to the 95 countries, and the participation is growing up to the 2,700 people. From there are also IT people, librarians, publishers, research institutes, etc. This is the same thing. Yeah, we have various kinds of participants in this And the RDA is a kind of a forum for grassroots consensus forming, but it is kicked by the political action. So some people are worrying about the continuity. If the governments don't want to do that, then it may stop. But I don't think, I'm not very much afraid about that, because this forum is a platform. If we have a certain target, we want to do really, then we can use this as a platform, and yeah, we can just do what we should do. So in situation, I'm sorry, it's out. Time is. I'm sorry, thank you very much. So my English speech is bad, sorry. So in Cabinet Office of Japan has published the guiding principle of open science, open research in the last March 2015. It is titled Promoting Open Science in Japan, Opening Up a New Era for the Advancement of Science. And you don't need to write down the URL. You can just search on the Google in the keywords as Cabinet Office and Open Science and something that you can find it probably. And English translation is underway. Just the executive summary is in English version is available. And National Data Library has been working for electronic digital archives too, of course. There are digital collections and some data archives for the Great East Japan earthquake has been worked very much hard. But it is not for the very much about the non-text data. Most of them are the text data. So they are also wondering what to do. And however, their 5-year plan for the entire library defined the building a knowledge infrastructure on digital information resources. This was being done by the former head librarian, Dr. Nagao, Professor Nagao. He was an information scientist. And the National Data Library has been working for this kind of knowledge infrastructure, but it is on the way. And now I am a member of the working group for the next 5-year plan of the National Data Library. And I am not a librarian, I am a data person. So Data Library wants to include the data discussion in their next 5-year plan. So that is the current situation of the NDL. So, of course, my standpoint is to encourage the National Data Library to manage the data, text data, non-text data, not only the videos, sounds. And once we have publishing data or opening the data, not only the scientist outcome to the society is not only the paper, but also the data. Data is a really important intellectual asset which science community can provide to the society. And in that case, citation is very much essential element to recognize the scientist's work or data creator's work. Without the names, without the citation references, people just use the data without any reference, and just data creators lose the data from his own computer. The citation mechanism is so important to build up the recognition of the contribution of the data creators, producers. And the Australian National Institute is seriously thinking about that. They are encouraging in a nationwide scale about the DOI use in data management, and it will make ecosystem put the DOI, digital object identifier, to the data set and use it in a research activity, and then we can make some major bibliometrics like citation index. Thomson Reuters is now thinking to service the data citation index. It's a good example. And then data is and papers both are the measure of the achievement, and the researcher can get a reward from them. And in Japan, Japan Link Center has authorized registration agency of the DOI. DOI is internationally managed, so we are doing. I am the steering member also in a steering committee for this experiment for the controlling the DOI for data. So I'm sorry. So in conclusion, I talked about the many subjects of the data. It is the issue of culture and the social system. And you can see the metric system is now popular internationally, but it has started in 1795. We needed 200-300 years. And time zones also. Japan and Korea has the same time zone, but internationally it's important. It took 100-200 years. So we should be patient. And in the end, please keep it in mind that let me say about the bottom line, that don't regulate what we don't yet understand, which is a word from the European people. The data issue is too much new, too much advanced. So we are just in the experimental phase. So no government, no authority should not regulate the data issue. We should proceed to the practices hand in hand. So thank you very much. I'm sorry very much.
Thank you. 네. 과학기술 연구진흥을 위해서 데이터 공유가 얼마나 중요한지 그 접근을 제공하는 중요성을 저희가 잘 이해할 수 있었던 발표로 생각이 됩니다. 좋은 발표를 해주신 야스히로무라야마 연구개발실장님 감사합니다.